Hey everyone, welcome to week 7. I'm sure I don't have to tell you that there's no discussion board and there's no reflection paper this week, but there is some reading for you to do, just a little bit more in our course text and a video for you to watch. So I'd encourage you to take a little time to do that, just to tie in some of what we've been looking at and get through the rest of those books. Also this week, you have the opportunity to provide some evaluation for me as well as for the course, the overall course. And I really would encourage you to do this. You've got this week and next week to finish, to go ahead and do that. But just like you, I am constantly evaluating myself and reflecting on my performance and reflecting on what I want to do differently. And your feedback to me is very helpful. So feel free to make comments, make suggestions for me as your instructor, as well as for the course in general. And some of you have done that a little bit along the way, but feel free to put that all in that in the survey that you received. Creighton has a lot of focus on evaluation. So every class that you have, you'll have the opportunity to do that in week 7 or week 8. It'll be on your right there on your computer screen for the week. So please take a minute to do that. Last week, I stayed off the discussion board as promised, although I have to say, as I was reading, there were several times I wanted to say something and weigh in because you were having such great conversations, but I exercised self-control. But I was so happy to see the way that you interacted with each other and posed a lot of great questions and brought in some new materials and thoughts. And that was exactly what I was looking for and I was hoping would happen. So I'm really pleased with that. And there was a nice distribution of interactions. Some of you really took to heart what I said about trying to reply to different people. So I appreciate that. It's interesting reading through everyone's different motivations. I just wrote down what I gleaned when you talked about what is your motivation for leading. And we had things like perform above and beyond, make a difference, make the world better, competition, responsibility, building relationships, being seen as a role model, financial security, helping people reach their potential, wanting to be heroic, wanting to serve others, wanting to be the best version of myself. And what I saw in that was that some intrinsic motivation and then some extrinsic motivation. And I think all of us are a mixture of those. And if we're being honest, we're selfless much of the time, but there are pieces of each one of us that are selfish. Even as we read about the Jesuits, I think we see little small glimpses of where there was some selfishness mixed in. And we're human beings having a human experience. And so, of course, that we're always battling that. And like someone said, wanting to be a better version of ourselves. So we have to learn how to balance that. And that's one of the things that you guys talked about. Some was self-care and having balance in your life and how important that is for leaders. So I think when you look at the Jesuits, they came away on a daily basis and then on some longer periods of time, and they did that reflective work. And many of us have found we need that time to pull away. We need that exercise time. We need that chance to just decompress, think about things, or think about nothing even. And being a leader really does involve figuring out how to put those rhythms into our schedules as well so that we will perform at our highest levels. And also was interesting reading through your comments on the case study using critical reflection. It's one of my favorite reflective practices, is considering things from that perspective of justice and equality and equity, and how are we making the world a more just place. And some of you picked up on some great themes. I especially was interested in the discussion about gender. For those of you who are interested, there's a women and leadership class in this program that focuses, it's a little bit broader than just women. It's on diversity and justice, but it's called Women in Leadership. So anyway, that's one of my topics that I'm most interested in. And I think picking up on that in the case study and just asking the questions, could this possibly be a reason for the way things were handled as they were? And I think all of us saw in that case study just the way the Janice, I think her name is, Janice Arnold, how she didn't communicate. She was not asking any questions. She was really not making any attempts at understanding the in-group and nor becoming an in-group prototype, or she was just making changes. And I think we had a little bit of a good discussion on that topic. You guys did on the topic of change, and some people coming in just making changes for the sake of making changes. And I think that's really important too, to think about from this critical reflection standpoint. How does change affect people? How will they respond? And especially if you're making changes that they've had no input on, and it clearly affects their ability to live their life and do their jobs, how much input are we getting? So communication is always such a critical topic for us as leaders to consider. Okay, so I think that's it for about last week. I've told you about this week, and then next week is when your paper's due, and I gave you a whole announcement about that. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to that, please go back, or even if you did, you might want to listen to it again. The important things are to give a lot of background on your case, spend a good amount of time on the reflection piece of things, consider your strengths, and then also talk about your leadership philosophy. Make sure you're using APA formatting, use the template for the class. Make sure that you are using those reflective practices that we've talked about. Headings are really important. Make sure you've got the papers organized well. And as I mentioned before, if you have any questions or you get stuck or anything like that, please let me know. I will be doing some traveling over the next week, kind of on a plane and off a plane, and in some places that don't have the best internet. So if it takes me a day to get back to you, don't be alarmed. But I'll do my very best to get back with you as soon as possible, because I know you're wanting to get the papers done. I hope you'll appreciate and enjoy having some more space to work within. I know the one-page thing has been difficult for everyone because you just don't have enough time or space to develop the ideas. So I think in this paper, you've got the space, you've got the time to say what you want to say. And so I'm really, really looking forward to what you write and learning more about you through those, and then seeing how you're reflecting on those experiences. Okay, so have a great week and reach out if you need anything. Take care.